What's up, guys? Brendan Hancock here with another episode of Groove Subaru today. And today we brought along the 2018 Subaru Impreza and the 2018 Subaru Crosstrek as well. Now, these are the two vehicles that are going to both be built on the all-new global platform. And if you guys haven't seen any of our other videos that talk about this platform, this is the future of Subaru. All of our vehicles in the upcoming future in the next few years are going to be built on the same platform, and this is the greatest thing to ever happen to Subaru ever. I'm telling you, it is awesome. So a couple of the cool numbers about this: they have increased the energy absorption by 40%. We've got a 50% decrease in body roll and a 70% more rigid chassis, which is definitely going to give you a much, sort of stiffer feel, but also over the bumps, because they've increased the insulation on the bottom, modified the suspension, is going to handle those bumps much better. Now, both of these cars have the noise insulating windshield, which previously only the legacy of the Outback had. So where I used to say that the Impreza and Crosstrek used to be the loudest, noisiest cars that we had, they're now the two quietest vehicles that we offer, even more quiet than the legacy and Outback, in my personal opinion, if I do say so myself. So, a couple of differences between the Impreza and the Crosstrek. Now, these cars have always been very similar. They've always kind of been built on the same sort of platform here. And if you can see, just looking at them, especially the 5-door Impreza with the Crosstrek, they look almost exactly the same, and for the most part, they are. A couple of the biggest differences between the two you're going to notice right off the bat is ground clearance. So the 2018 Crosstrek, just like a 17, even though it was a different platform, has 8.7 inches of ground clearance. And in 2016, Consumer Reports rated the Crosstrek the #2 performing vehicle in the snow. So this literally only was beat out by the Outback, which has the same all-wheel drive system and the same amount of ground clearance. So really, I think they're just kind of throwing those in an order of some kind. The other thing that the Crosstrek is going to have here, you're going to notice a lot more cladding sort of on the outside here. Instead of the nice chrome that you're seeing on the Impreza, we're going to see much more composite materials over here, kind of give it a little bit more protection. More people are taking these on light off-roading scenarios with rocks, things like that, and it's much nicer to be scratching plastic than it is paint. It's also a lot less expensive too, which is great. Now, the other things that we're going to see here along the sides, pretty much the same. Now, not all of the Imprezas are going to come with the roof rails on top. All Crosstreks will, but we will see the rails on top as an option. However, these are black, whereas those are a little bit more of a chrome kind of silver color, which just kind of makes that look more elegant, makes this look a little bit more rugged and sort of off-road kind of looking as well. Now, if we go to the back of the Crosstrek, really it's going to look almost identical to that of the Impreza. The biggest difference is you're going to have a much better approach angle. So if you are doing light off-roading and stuff with this car, which you can do because now the Crosstrek has X mode, which I'll get to later, the angles on the back here are much nicer. They're not, the most aerodynamic compared to the Impreza. Overall, looks pretty much the same, but we do likewise have the extra cladding and stuff over here for protection if you are taking these on some light trails to have a little bit of fun. Really, this car is much more sporty and rugged and more take everywhere than the Impreza is a little bit more elegant, refined, and you are going to get a little bit better fuel economy. So the Impreza is a great car for in and around town, things like that. It is going to do very well in the snow because it does have a good all-wheel drive system, actually the same as this one. But that extra clearance, obviously, if you're trying to drive through like 2 feet of snow or something like that, Crosstrek is going to be the way to go. Now, as for the interior of the cars, which we'll hop in just a second, same kind of things carrying over here. You're going to have a little bit more of a kind of a rugged, sort of off-roady kind of feel inside the Crosstrek, much more refined and elegant inside the Impreza. So first, without further ado, let's go take a look inside the Impreza first, and then we'll take a look inside the Crosstrek and see how they're different. Very nice place to be. They've completely redesigned the interior of this car. They've made it much more refined and elegant. A lot of that has to do with just how much they've simplified the center stack here with this nice 8-inch touchscreen. Super bright, looks a lot more like your cell phone. They also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now, which is super nice. And they've also got a lot more soft touch surfaces up here. Still, it's not full leather or anything. This is obviously composite, but the stitching and everything that goes across really brings the cabin together nicely. The lines inside here, they go all the way across, and it just kind of connects the whole cabin very nicely together. Now, the stitching and embroidering here on the seats, especially with the leather, is completely new design, looks a lot better than it did previously. And one of the biggest differences on the interior of the Impreza versus the Crosstrek is actually going to be the stitching color here. Now, the seats, the patterns for the actual seats on a Crosstrek and Impreza are really going to be the same in the limited trim level. However, the seats on the premium and base models are a little bit different with the Crosstrek, and they've got a couple of different colors kind of blending together, which actually makes it look a little bit more sporty than it does in the limited trim level. But other than that, you've got your automatic climate control and everything down here. This does come with navigation, as will the Crosstrek as well here. So we've got the all-new TomTom navigation system built in here, and you still have your CD player because Subaru owners still have CDs and they can't go away with that. So as for the steering wheel design, a little bit of a redesign here, same as we really saw on the Impreza, although they've kind of made it a little bit sportier with this nice little design here. Same thing on the Crosstrek, and they've also kind of changed the buttons that are on the steering wheel as well. They have also changed this nice little screen up top here. I believe, I want to say it's a 5.9. I think I said another video was a 3.5, but I think it's a 5.9 inch screen up there. And you're going to get a whole bunch of information. A lot of it has to do with fuel economy. You have your tiltometer and traction monitor here, oil temp, a couple of other things, and get the weather as part of your travel link, which also the Crosstrek will have. But overall, much nicer place to be. And as I mentioned too, you've got a 432 watt equivalent Harman Kardon premium sound system in this car, which is absolutely awesome. And overall, very roomy interior inside. Both the Crosstrek and the Impreza, compared to the previous models, have increased in size. So we do have about half an inch wider and about 1.5 inches or so roughly longer, so we do actually have more leg room. Now most of that leg room though is going to be in the back, so not too much different up here for the driver and passenger. So welcome to the inside of the Crosstrek. So if it looks similar to the Impreza, that's because it is. Very few differences on the inside here. The biggest thing is actually going to be the stitching color. So on the Crosstrek, we have orange stitching here, as we had a white or silver kind of on the Impreza. That made it look a little bit more elegant. This is definitely more sporty, a little bit more out there kind of, which the Crosstrek in general is. I think it's a little bit more sporty and cool. That's why you have the orange color as an option as well. So other things that are different in here, we are going to see X mode on the bottom down here. So on the Impreza, this is just a blank little spot there. Now the cool thing is that X mode is really your off-road mode. So we've seen this on the Forester previously, as well as the Outback, the other two cars that have the 8.7 inches of ground clearance. Now the Crosstrek has it, and it's going to make this a very capable off-roader for light off-roading conditions, and also extremely good in the snow. You actually, Consumer Reports did the top 53 performing SUVs in the snow, and this actually ranked at number 2. So very proud of Subaru for doing so well on that test. Now, X mode, what it does is, as I mentioned, it's your off-road mode. So on uphills, you know, slippery gravel roads or icy surfaces, it has a throttle control management property that helps to maintain better grip and traction. And then on the downhills, it actually has what's called hill descent control. So it's actually going to use the traction and stability control to kind of brake for you as you're going downhill, which is going to allow you to just focus on steering, and you're not focusing so much on riding your brakes down those slippery surfaces. Now, the max speed for X mode is only 18 miles per hour, so you're really talking very slow conditions. This would be if you're off-roading with a Jeep, you know, when you throw it into 4 low, that's going to be kind of the similar scenarios to when you'd be using X mode. So now, other than that, pretty much everything in here is going to be the same as the Impreza. A little bit sportier look here, but not as much as in actually the lower trim levels when you have the two-tone interior with the Crosstrek. I think that looks a little bit more rugged. But in here, you get a nice elegant interior with a little touch of sportiness, which I think the Crosstrek does really well with. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're trying to decide between these two, really the biggest thing, do you like the sporty look and exterior of the exterior on this car, the Crosstrek, or do you like the more elegant, softer angles, things like that on the Impreza? Do you need the extra ground clearance? Also, the Crosstrek's about $2,000 more than the Impreza is, so do you need to spend that type of extra cash? And then also fuel economy. This car's going to get around 33 miles per gallon on the highway, and the Impreza is going to get 37 miles per gallon on the highway with the with the 5-door. So whether or not you know that fuel economy is super important to you is something to consider. My guess is because of that extra ground clearance is why, you know, maybe aerodynamics, why it's doing that. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. See you guys next time on Groove Subaru Today.